Teresa, before the break, we were talking about what was happening in Manitoba with a trustee who is potentially proposing to have a committee to maybe ban some books that were viewed as pornographic or age inappropriate. You know, we mentioned a lot of these books seem to be interlaced with gender ideology. But if the school curriculum supports in the classroom the teaching of gender ideology, why is it so controversial then to have resources that support or books that support that kind of ideology in the school library?
Well, it's not controversial by the current standards that are in place everywhere. However, that's really where we need to be putting our pressure, is to push back against these established norms in the sex ed programs across the country. And that's why the New Brunswick situation is so interesting, because really it comes from the highest level and with the curriculum, and then it trickles down to all the ways that people do things day to day in the schools. So then if you have the sex ed teaching, about gender ideology and trans kids to middle school kids, then you're going to have books like that in the library as well. So, what we really need to do is take a step back and say, what are we teaching these kids? And do we need to revisit that?
Well, let's talk about what some teachers are teaching children. There is a school teacher who was, I believe, recently suspended in Ontario, who's a former lawyer who then became an elementary school teacher. And from what I've viewed from his tweets, he takes a real joy and pride in providing or educating his children on gender ideology and gender politics and sexual identities. Tell me about this teacher, Paolo De Bono, and why was he suspended?
Correct. So Paolo De Bono has for a number of years promoted to teaching of gender ideology in the classroom. And he launched a public campaign in the fall to have the Catholic curriculum on religious education not published anymore by its publisher. And this caused extreme waves. Like there's nothing that he won't say. He seems to have no constraints to follow the Catholic teachings on sexuality.
And he's a Catholic teacher then?
And he's in a Catholic school board in Toronto. Yeah. Though he gets around because he also recently went to be a delegate in the York board about flying the pride flag in that board. So he was put on home assignment after that evening that was captured on multiple news sources, arguing and baiting parents who were there to say that the flag is not appropriately raised in Catholic schools.
And why was he put on home assignment? Because did his teaching college feel that his behavior was inappropriate? What was the issue?
No, well, this was a board decision, and because it's concerning employee details, they won't release the details of what exactly was said. All we know is that he's no longer teaching in the classroom. We don't know for how long that might be. He may be back in the fall. We're not sure.
Well, so this Mr. De Bono, and again, I've viewed some of his tweets in preparing for the show. He seems to be what one would call an activist teacher, and he makes no bones about it. He's really upfront with it. This is what I want to promote in the classroom. We should all be doing it. Everybody getting on board. Why is that really an issue? We have about 30 seconds.
Right. So parents have described kids coming home saying things that are contrary to the parents' faith, and being very upset. Also not doing apparently a lot of work in the classroom.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have today. And, we're ending it on a very controversial note, but that's okay. And we'll have to have you on again to unpack, as it seems like these issues are percolating everywhere. Thank you, Dr. Pierre.
Thank you, Tanya, for having me. Okay.